Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, my evil layer, my salty super villainness. Welcome back. How are you guys? Just kidding, as always, don't answer that, I don't care. I have a video for you today, but before I get into everything, I just want to say thank you to all of my minions who clicked the sub button in the last week or so. We broke 1,000 subs, which is kind of insane. It's kind of crazy, but I just want to say thank you. And if you have not subscribed yet, please hit the sub button if you wouldn't mind and join my layer of evil minions. Don't worry, I will say all of the controversial shit for you, and you can just stand behind me and cheer on, okay? You don't have to say anything, don't worry. But regardless, I appreciate you guys. Y'all have blown my mind. That's crazy. I don't know. But I am a little bit tired today, and I've had a cup of coffee, and it's 9 o'clock at night, and I have not eaten anything yet. So I'm going to be all over the place in this video, so please forgive me. But today's topic, for those of you who are new here, since this is a new channel, I'm going to be recapping all of you on me, who I am, my detransness and how that came to be, and then I will be stating like the topic of this video after I've done that, because it's not something that I have actually talked about on my old channel, and I feel like it's something that needs to be said because it's not something I really realized back then, but I know now. I'm educated now, okay, and I'm here to bring the education to you, okay, to share my knowledge and my spicy topics. But anyways, for those of you who don't know me or are new here, my name is Ryan, or Salty, or Kashipa over on Twitch. I have been a majority of names, and in around 2019 or so, I'm born female, by the way. I'm a detransitioner, female to male, back to female again, and in, like I said, I think like around 2019, it was a while ago, and I did not keep track of the dates, but I was having a lot of issues mentally with identity, with sexuality, and it was just kind of a bit of a clusterfuck up here. And so naturally what we all do to self-diagnose is we Google it. We go to the internet, and we look up our problems to see if anybody else has those problems, and maybe figure out what our deal is. And that's what I did. And as soon as I Googled my issues, I kind of was surrounded by a bunch of stuff that basically said, you're trans, you're trans, you're trans. And I got it into my head that I was trans. I had convinced myself that the issues with my identity and my sexuality, and I also had issues with how women are perceived in this society, and a bunch of other shit along those lines. I have a video on that that's way more detailed. If you want to go watch that, I'll probably link it below. But yes, I had convinced myself and kind of confused myself into thinking that the issues that I was having was gender dysphoria, which it was not. It was not actually gender dysphoria, but I had convinced myself that life would be better if I was a guy. Life would be easier, I would be happier. It just makes sense because I'm a tomboy and I do all this guy stuff, so naturally I should just be a guy, right? No. But I had convinced myself of that fact, and so I went to Planned Parenthood like a week later, and I basically walked in. I said, hi, I think I'm trans. They said, great, we're gonna diagnose you with gender dysphoria, and here's your prescription for testosterone. You can get it the very next day. And I said, great. I didn't actually realize in my head what a huge fucking red flag this was. And I went on hormones. Like, I think I got the prescription I got the prescription, and it wasn't gonna be ready for, I think, a few days, and I got my first hormone injection, like a week later. And then I got a binder and everything like that. And I was on my little merry trans way. Consistently on testosterone for like a year and a half made it so I could easily pass as a guy. I did not get misgendered. My voice dropped, actually lower than it is now. My voice has raised slightly, not nearly enough though. But yeah, so I was trans for a whole year and a half, and people who say that you weren't trans, yeah, technically that's correct, but I'm just going to refer myself as being trans before because it's easier, and I'm not going to say, well, I thought I was trans, but I wasn't. I'm not gonna say that, okay? It's a mouthful, okay? I was trans. And I lived a year and a half. You don't understand the extent. As soon as I transitioned and identified as a guy, I moved like 4 hours away from any friends, family, and anyone I ever knew. I completely started over. I got a name change. I got a new job, and anyone who knew me in person knew me as the new that I'm just gonna say Bob, right? They knew me as Bob, and I was trans. Like, I was completely involved in everything. I was watching the trans videos on YouTube. I was going to doctor's appointments. I was seeing I saw a therapist because I was going to get top surgery. Thank God I didn't. And I went and saw a therapist once, and I remember this was like about 6 to 8 months down the road from my transition. I was starting to really actually pass as a guy, and I went to see another therapist about getting top surgery, and it only took one therapy appointment for me to explain that I was trans or identified as trans, and I wanted to get top surgery. They didn't ask me any questions. They didn't like poke or prod or try to be like, how long have you been transitioning? Are you sure this is the right thing for you? Nothing. They sent me a letter or something to my insurance company, so I could get approved under insurance to go get this surgery. I had even been talking to the doctor's office that does these. Everything was approved. Nobody questioned me. Nobody did anything. I was basically diagnosing myself consistently throughout my entire transition. I was responsible for my own medical diagnosis, which is really crazy, and it's something that's unfortunately very, very common. So, long story short, right around when I decided that I wanted to get top surgery, I had actually started to have some doubts about being trans, which is really ironic because I said I really wanted to get this, and then I started really thinking about it after I had gotten the approval and everything. I was like, fuck, do I really want to do this? But everyone in the trans community has said, if you're trans, you got to get these surgeries because, if you really are trans and if you have gender dysphoria, then you'll want to get rid of these. And it had kind of made me think, well, fuck, if I identify as trans, then I have to want to get rid of these. And it had kind of brainwashed myself into believing that in order to actually be accepted as trans, I had to go through X, Y, and Z different steps, and I had to do this, that, and the third to my body in order for me to kind of qualify, as truly trans. And I had kind of realized at this point, thank God, that I was not actually trans. It took a couple of months because I had started just having doubts, small little whispers into my head that said, maybe do I miss being a girl? Like, it started real slow. Like, I saw all the makeup racks and the wall at Walgreens and all the women looking beautiful and just doing all these crazy makeup looks, and I started to miss it a little bit. And I said, nah, that's normal. I'm sure all guys kind of envy women and how they look, gorgeous, right? But it got worse and worse and worse until I could not ignore it. It got so bad that I said, I eventually had to realize that I had done something wrong. I said, if I was truly trans, I would not be having these kinds of issues. And then I basically realized the issues that I was having, thinking and that missing being a woman, was dysphoria. I gave myself gender dysphoria. I identified as a guy and then got dysphoric about my body. And not necessarily so much about my body, but I got dysphoric about my role in society, and I started to not like being a guy anymore and started to miss being a woman. And so there's a lot of stuff that I want to get into, but I'm just going to try and focus and finish my story before I talk about all this stuff. I was in denial for a couple of weeks because I said, I have been on hormones for this long. If I transition, I'm not even going to look like a woman anymore because I pass. And I said, I refuse to be misgendered as my own biological gender, so fuck it. I'll just stay a guy. It's easier to be trans than to be misgendered as my own gender, and I think that would be harder. And for about 2 weeks, I said I was just gonna stay like that. But those were like the most miserable 2 weeks of my life. And then eventually I sucked it up and I decided that I was just gonna go back, and it was gonna be difficult and it was gonna be hard, but at least I was going to be comfortable in my own body. And so I detransitioned. I had a bunch of roommates, by the way. I was living with a bunch of guys who did not know I was trans, by the way. I passed and we never shared any bathroom spaces at all, so it was never a problem, and nobody ever really knew, and they didn't need to know. But if I was going to detransition, I had to move out of that place, so I got myself a new apartment. I felt a little guilty, but I kind of had to ghost all of those kind of friends that I made because they did not know that I was trans, and if they were to ever see me again after I moved out, I would look like a woman, and that was not good. So once again, everyone I had known ghosted as I retransition or detransition, something like that, into being a woman. And since then, I think I have everything documented on my YouTube channel. I made videos explaining, you know, my kind of all the issues that I had that led up to that point, and I answered all of your questions. And if you have more questions, I will answer them down below. But for now, I'm just going to try and summarize in a short period of time, or short-ish, my kind of journey with that. I wore makeup, I bought nice clothes, and yes, I got misgendered as a woman. As my own gender, I would go and people would think that I was a trans woman when I'm like, no, I am a biological woman, but thanks. So that was a struggle. And it's been going better and better ever since. I don't necessarily have dysphoria about anything. The only thing that I have never actually admitted on video before, but you know, I'm thinking, fuck it, we're all laying it out. I have always tried to be super positive about my voice, about other people who have detransitioned and they're really worried that their voice is never going to get back to the way it was before. And I was always trying to be the positive force, say, nah, don't worry, your voice is beautiful, just learn to accept it the way it is, fuck all the haters. And honestly, I was full of fucking shit. I lied. I'm sorry. I really tried to be the one who, you know, is just the big, strong, fuck the haters, your voice is beautiful the way it is, but I fucking hate it. I hate my voice. I have always hated my voice. I even made a video called, oh gosh, singing Your Man by Josh Turner with my deep voice. I had like a little green wig on in that video, and I basically stated that I had troubles with my voice, but I'm learning to accept it the way it is. And I made that video, and I got some people hated it, some people loved it, or I didn't really read the comments because any good creators know that you never read the actual fucking comments. But honestly, guys, I kind of fucking hate it. Anytime that I make videos on Twitch or I post little gaming clips on TikTok, I get asked, what are you? People say that that's a dude. Whenever a lot of times, like, somebody will comment and be like, oh, you're so pretty, and then some asshole will respond to someone's comment and be like, you know, that's a dude, right? I am not actually a guy. The amount of shit that I have to take constantly about my voice being the way it is has absolutely made me fucking hate it, and I would love to get voice feminization surgery, but unfortunately at this point I cannot afford it. I have tried voice therapy to make it lighter. It has not worked for me that well. I'm probably just doing it wrong, but also it's just exhausting. So yes, I am so sorry if you were someone that I have stated that, oh, I love my voice, it's great. I really tried to stay positive for you guys, but I'm gonna be honest, I fucking hate it. I've always hated it. It's the thing that I absolutely hate the most about me, and I don't know if I will ever be able to fix it. I hope that I'll be able to save enough to actually get that surgery. It costs like $8 grand, and I'm not gonna make another GoFundMe because no, I can't do that. But yes, that is right about where I am now. I have been detransitioned for like 2 or 3 years now. I make content online pretty consistently, and I have some things to say regarding what I have learned after I have detransitioned for this long and for this successfully. Things that I didn't realize when I was trans that I just didn't know, but after having watched a whole bunch of other people's videos who I've had to dig for, mind you, who have detransitioned, who are not happy with their transition, who their gender affirming surgeries have not worked out for them, and I have formed an opinion that is different from my previous opinion, and a lot of people are not going to like it, and I don't care. I'm gonna say it regardless. So on another video that I had watched that was a detransitioner, it was actually a guy in the military, and he compared the trans community to being pretty cultish. And to an extent, I agree. Except I don't believe that it's necessarily the trans community itself. I believe it is the companies and the doctors and the therapists and the surgeries and the surgeons that are the problem. Because when I was making videos on the other channel, a lot of people who were trans or just a trans supporter had stated when I was saying that people need to, really consider if you're actually trans and you need to take a step back because a lot of people are not actually trans and there's a lot of detransitioners. They tried to gaslight me and tell me that, no, there's actually not that many detransitioners and you're actually a very, very big minority and that's a fucking lie. Okay, that is a lie. They kept telling me that most people are happy with their transition and they love the surgeries that they get, and they tried to tell me that everything was happy-go-lucky, hunky-dory, and if you were one of those people, you are fucking mistaken. Okay, and here's why. I had just watched recently a interview that Blair White had done about someone. I don't think I have it up right now actually, but I think their name is Shapeshifter or something. It's it's actually, he identifies as a guy now, but it was a male to female transitioner who is now detransitioned. And they had gotten all of these gender affirming surgeries. They had gotten facial, just all the surgery top and bottom. They had done everything, right? And they basically went on her interview and said that they hate where they are now. They seriously regret what they did to themselves, and they hated how it was so easy for them to do such serious harm to their body with no one essentially stopping them to question them. And I'll probably link that interview down below if you want to see it. It's only about 10-15 minutes long, I think, something like that. It's not too long. It's short. But they are correct, because when you think about it, the trans industry is a multi-million, probably multi-billion-dollar industry. And if you think that they actually care about you, or whether or not you're happy with your transition, or it actually, is successful for you in the long run, you're fucking mistaken, okay? They do not give a shit. They are there to make money off of you, okay? All the therapists that prescribe that say that they affirm you. They're affirming therapists. They're not actually there. Some of them are, but there are a astounding number of therapists and counselors that are only there to affirm you. They're not there to question you if you say that you think you're trans. They're not there to poke and prod at you and see, and if maybe there's some other issue, they're not there to do that. They're there to affirm you so they can prescribe you hormones, so the hormone therapy industry can make money off of you. And after you get on hormones and they say that you transition, then they convince you that in order to actually be truly trans, you have to get these surgeries. You have to get top and bottom surgery. You have to be on hormone for a certain amount of time. You have to pass a certain way. You're not truly feminine or a female or a woman unless you have this and that on the bottom, and so after they convince you that you have to have these surgeries in order to look and present feminine and actually be a woman, then they send you to all these doctors' offices who say that you need to get top and bottom surgery, and then they make money off of you off of that. And people say that there's not that many detransitioners and that most people are happy with their surgeries. How the fuck do you actually know? If these people are making money off of you, do you seriously think that they're going to tell you all about the horror stories and people who aren't satisfied? No. A person who's selling you a product is going to show you all these rave 5-star Google reviews, and they're going to shove in the closet and under the fucking blankets all the 1-star Google reviews and the people who hated it and the people who it didn't work for them, and they have all these sorts of actual medical issues now that they've done these surgeries. and they're just mentally not happy because they basically diagnosed themselves. Nobody questioned them, and now they have done these surgeries and they're just fucked up in the head. They're never going to tell you about that kind of stuff when you're trying to get a surgery about that stuff. It's just never going to happen. If they want to make money off of you, if they want to sell you these surgeries and hormones, they're not going to tell you about the time that didn't work. They're not going to. That's why people think that there's not that many detransitioners and that, 99% of all people who transition are totally happy with it. It's not true. That's why when I Google transition and trans people, the most you get is all these successful and happy YouTubers, and all the detransitioners I have to actually specifically look for and actually have to dig for. We are being shoved under the rug and hidden. So all these people in this multi-million-dollar industry can make money off of you by convincing you that you're trans when some of you are actually not. I mean, any other medication, just think about it. Any other mental health issue that you would need meds for, you have to get an actual diagnosis. It takes a while in a therapist's office to talk to them, multiple sessions and visits. So sometimes it takes even longer than that to get prescribed serious medication that can actually permanently alter your brain and your body. That would take a long time to actually get a prescription for, right? And then if you need a surgery for that too, do you know how long sometimes it takes to get approval for surgeries for things that are not gender related? I mean, for me, say if I were to walk in to, just for example, something that's completely not related to gender, if I were to want, this is probably a bad example, but it's the only one that I can think of right now. If I don't want to have kids and I want to get my tubes tied, essentially, or get a hysterectomy or whatever, and I want to take it all out, I don't like it, right? I don't want to have kids, I don't plan on it. I'm 23 years old. I would have to go to a doctor, and chances are they'd probably tell me no. They'd say, no, we're not going to get your tubes tied because that's a permanent and granted, it can be reversed, but that's a very serious surgery, and you might change your mind later, and you might have kids. So I can go to a doctor, and they can tell me about my own body that, no, you might change your mind and want to have kids. We're not going to give you surgery that will permanently alter your body. But you can go into a doctor's office and say, hey, I think I'm trans, and they will just do it instantly, willy-nilly, with no questions asked. How in the world does that make any sense? I mean, honestly, people need to realize that transitioning a lot of the times is not the solution for you. You shouldn't always, if you go to a therapist and they tell you that if you just instantly say that, hey, I think I'm trans, and they affirm you and they don't ask any questions whatsoever and they automatically just want to prescribe you prescriptions for hormone therapy, you need to realize that is probably a very big red flag, and that therapist does not care about you. They only care about a statistic and making money off of you. All of these surgeons, the people who do top and bottom surgery, they do not care about you. They want to make money off of you. And you need to seriously start to take a step back and actually consider for yourself if this is the right decision for you. All these people who state that there's no detransitioners, there is. It's just people don't want us to speak up. They don't want us to tell you that it might not work, because then it's going to hurt their numbers. It's going to hurt their income. And all these people who make all this money off of you won't be making as much money if people start to actually think for themselves and think that this is not the right solution for them and that there might be other issues going on, like there was for me. I was not actually trans. I had a bunch of other issues going on up here. And nobody asked questions. They almost practically pushed me to transition and told me, yeah, this is the right decision for you. All these people who transition, they're so happy. Look up all these YouTubers. When you look it up, you don't really see any people who transition. And part of that reason is because a lot of people who post about detransitioning and how it wasn't right for them and how they hated what had happened to them, they get attacked by the LGBT community and labeled as haters. And a lot of the times, a lot of people who detransitioned, one, they probably don't want to post on social media and expose their entire lives to you, and two, they'd get hate if they did. I just don't care, and you can come at me, bitch. But it's just because you don't see it does not mean it doesn't exist. Just because they say that the percentage of detransitioners is only a certain percent doesn't mean that's actually what it is. Would you trust the people who are there to make money off of your transition, off of giving you these surgeries? Would you trust what they say about if their product actually works or not? No. No, I'm not. Whenever I look at like a website that's selling something, and below on their website they list all of the like these raving reviews, am I going to actually trust that, or am I going to go to a third party like Google and I'm going to actually look up what other people have to say that are unbiased about it? I would never trust the reviews and what people say the success stories are by the person who's actually selling the information, the product or whatever. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean that it's not doesn't exist. People have this mentality that says, well, if I don't ever encounter it, and if I don't ever see, detransitioners, and if my doctor says that, there aren't very many detransitioners, then there must not be any. And that's just not true. And long story short, that is something that I have had to kind of figure out and learn, and that actually a surprising majority of people who have, the YouTube doesn't like it, but the rage quit rates, when it's attached to detransition and transitioners who have not been satisfied with their transition and have had a lot of actual issues that transitioning did not fix, despite being pushed towards transitioning, a lot of those people who don't actually get put in the right statistic, it gets thrown and tossed as something completely different, and they don't even contribute to the rate of people who are not actually satisfied with their transition. And all of these numbers are skewed. Like, if you go on TikTok and YouTube and Reddit, and there's so many people who are not satisfied and who don't like what has happened to them. They regret their choices, and they're constantly, almost all of them have said that when they transitioned, they were never questioned about it. They basically diagnosed themselves. So if you go and your doctor, your therapist, or whatever basically is just handing it out to you, and they're not asking any serious questions, if you can just get a prescription for hormones in 1 hour session, that is an issue. Don't do that, regardless if you think that it is the greatest thing that can happen to you is transitioning. Don't just see a therapist who will affirm what you think, okay? Their job is not to tell you what they think you want to hear. Their job is to question you and make you really think and decide if it is the right decision for you. And their job is to pick at you. Their job is not to just, you pay $150 for an hour session and then just be like, oh, you want to be trans? Okay, here you go. There's your fucking prescription. No, don't do that. Okay, don't. There are a lot more detransitioners than you think there are. And the transgender industry is not there to help you. They're there to make money off of you because you pay for all of these expensive surgeries and then they get paid. They're not going to tell you that, not voluntarily at least, that their product might not work and you might hate it. And there are a lot of stories about people who do bottom surgery and it doesn't work, who can never have sex again, who they did a sex operation and they can't even have sex. Do you understand how fucked up that would be? But they're never gonna tell you about that. So just because you think that it's a great industry and everyone's super happy with it, it's just because it's the only thing that you hear, doesn't mean that there aren't people who are dissatisfied with it, or there aren't people who got fucked up. All right, don't just assume. Okay, we're out there. I luckily did not do any surgeries to myself, but we exist. And there are people who, like this person there, I'll link her interview down below, but it's quite interesting. She has a lot of really good points to make and a lot of good points to say, and I've probably repeated myself in this video a bunch, so I apologize. But I think that's what that's my point gotten across. I hope I got it across enough for you. But yes. So anyways, I hope that helped you guys a little bit, maybe brought some stuff into perspective. This was all stuff that I didn't even realize when I transitioned. I didn't even think about it this way, because think about it, doctors and shit, if they're actually there to help you with any other medication, anything that's other than gender affirming, they will always question you, and you will have to jump through hoops to get that, that elective surgery that you want, right? But if it's anything to do with your gender identity, they just give it to you, and it's insane, okay? And it's a problem. So if you are thinking about transitioning, don't listen to to the doctors. And I know that sounds insane, but go to people who will actually question you and who actually does their job, and they're not just affirming therapists. Okay? Just think about it. I've been going for half an hour now, so I'm just gonna cut this video here. But anyways, you guys have a terrible night as usual. I will catch you guys in the next video. Let me know what you guys thought of this little rant, and I will catch you guys later. So, toodles.